Burns and Elizabeth Chalmers were my wonderful bosses, but I learned a lot there. I was the administrative assistant. As Davis House was a place where Mrs. Davis, originally in her own house, had greeted people who could be received by the president, but could not go to a restaurant or a hotel because we were segregated at that time. And so we continued to do the same thing. We were a host, kind of a hostel place for 16 people, and that's one of the things I was doing. But the great thing for me was that in the evening, FCNL would organize seminars on different aspects of politics and social work. And I met Toynbee, I met Fulbright, and for me as a young, innocent person, that was just really wonderful, and I enjoyed that very much. So while I was in Washington, I became very active in the meeting on Florida Avenue with the Young Friends again, and we got in touch with the Young Friends of America, and they had been trying to get in touch with the youth of Russia, trying to thaw our relationship at the kind of the individual level, again, as usually Quakers do, from the equality which whether you're a friend or a foe, you really were someone who had a part of God in you, therefore we could really try to help them to understand what was happening in our country. So we took them they were 4 men, you're going to laugh about this, the 4 men, each had just been married and each had a 6-month-old baby. Some psychologists decide that if we send those, they're not going to stay there, they'll come back to their wife and child. But we all think they were very funny. But in return, they told us they invited us to come to their parts of the world. So the next summer in 1959, there was a international youth festival, and the American government did not want to recognize that. But we, again, as Quakers, we could be observers. Another amusing story. Dean applied to be, I was the leader of one of the 2 teams, he applied for my team and I had to say no because my team was full. The American Friends Service Committee sent him and we met in Vienna, and then 3 months later we were married at Merion meeting under the hospice, under the sponsorship of Merion meeting. So for us this was a very wonderful way of exchanging vows in front of our friends and families, and we still, 54 years later, hold on. But during our wedding, we again saw the importance of simplicity. Again, the 4th testimony of Quakers, because I never liked fanfare, I never liked much of, I preferred things that were very simple. For example, I probably was one of the few brides at that time who didn't want tissue paper and envelopes and different things in my announcement. All there was a piece of paper, you open it up, there's a card, and there you were invited to the wedding. We had 200 people at the wedding. Actually, in the marriage certificate, we had exactly 200 people. And we really felt that that was a very meaningful thing for us. In the next 3 moves, we went to Chicago, where Dean was a postdoc at Northwestern, and then we went to the University of Delaware, and then to SUNY at Buffalo before coming back here. We were really following Dean's career, but every time that we went to a university, we had to knock on the door and say, do you have a job for France? Because at that time, there were no international student office still, and I had to really persuade the powers to be to do that, so I opened the Office of Foreign Student Affairs at Northwestern, at the University of Delaware, and SUNY at Buffalo. So I was lucky to have been in persuasion. But to me that was very important because I knew that I had been helped and I needed help. So that's how, again, service above self and what was important for me. Then 35 years ago, we moved to Merion because I lost my job at SUNY at Buffalo. All foreign student advisors in the state of New York were eliminated. So I commuted for a whole summer by work because I found a job here with USAID And Dean then has commuted for 24 years to help my career so that I could be working and not being a housewife. And I enjoyed that very much. Then after working for AID, I worked at George Mason, and I opened the Office of International Education, which involved everything, and my vice president said, do whatever you want. And so I finally had a staff of 35 people, all because I had started an English Language Institute, and we were making more than $250,000. So that was unusual. The president said, this little director shouldn't have all that amount of money, close my office. So then I started my own company. But I reconnected again with Florida Avenue, that time as an adult. So I was doing the scheduling for the facing bench. I also co-sponsor or co-organize 3 bazaar. And that again was for our community, because around the Florida meeting, as you know, there are many poor people. And so we were selling pots and pans and clothes, and that, to them it was very important. So again, it was working for the community. 9 years ago, we decided to transfer our membership to this meeting, and the advantage now is that Dean has started to come, because I think that he was commuting and it was too difficult for him to come. Even half hour was difficult. So we have enjoyed very much, and we feel that this meeting is our spiritual meeting. We enjoy the friendliness, the care. We like the meetings that are, many of them are silent meetings like last week, and also the fact that many times you follow a theme. I've been active in some committees, and now I'm working, as some of you know, in the Pastoral Care Committee, and I hope I can continue to help our community here. Now, I spoke about my parents as being really a model for me, but I really have to address the fact that after they're gone, I now have a very supportive husband who helped me to not only work so that I could continue to work, but also help me in getting my doctorate degree, which as an educator, to say I'm Dr. Pruitt was really opening many more doors than I say I'm Mrs. Pruitt. And it is true, even secretaries has a better. During that time, also, I was asked by the U.S. government and by Japan and Togo and the World Bank to travel to talk about U.S. higher education. So we again had to take over, and the boys actually had to take over because I taught them how to cook. So when I was gone, I knew that as teenagers they could feed their daddy because his mother didn't teach him how to cook. I decided if I have 4 men in the house, I'm not going to be the only one in the kitchen. So actually they've been really wonderful cooks. And that leads me to the fact that we have 3 wonderful sons, and 2 of them are married, and one of them lives in McLean, the other one in Potomac. And Paul, as you all know him, is living with us, and he stops my having catastrophe with my computer every other day. And he also makes sure that his aging parents are well taken care of with all sorts of items for safety and for comfort. So we're very blessed, I would say. So my 3rd episode of my life, as I call my retirement years, I worked on and off with USAID on a part-time basis for a really wonderful program which sponsored, where we were giving money to former institutions in education and in health that really needed to be uplifted in technology. So I was the evaluator and the reader, and to me this was really a wonderful way of doing part-time work. For 25 years, and I just finished doing that, I worked for the Japanese embassy, recruiting teachers that are going to be teaching in Japan. And I got very involved in that and talked to people in Japan with their ministry to try to improve the program. And 4 years ago, 2 of my Chinese American friends begged me to start a group so that we could recruit teachers for China, because China is very anxious to have teachers. And it's a little hard to find people who want to go to China. I don't know what it is, but we're struggling and we're doing okay. On the voluntary side, a few colleagues and I, through my professional organization, started a an organization again that helps the culture attaché and education attaché to know more about the American educational system. And they also help the university where the students are from all these countries to get to know those of them who work with their students. I'm not the treasurer, but I'm kind of helping from the back side. Then for 25 years, you probably have heard my talking about the fact that I'm a Rotarian, and that has been a very great experience, but not different from Quakerism or what I had done, because our motto of Rotary is service about self. And our four-way test is very similar to the Quaker testimony, because we try to raise the integrity and in the community, so everyone who is a Rotarian is supposed to be more honest than most people, and I agree with that. It's something that I've done also in my work. So this was my other Quaker testimony. I spent a lot of time with my family, my friends, my colleagues, on the telephone, by email, and so my two members of my family will tell them maybe I'm too much on the phone. But I'll give you an example. There's something was happening there. I have kind of adopted a family. They're Indians who both had husband and wife were working in NIH. And when I was at about 15 years ago, I think I was going to the Y in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, because Dean was commuting, so I was more or less free to do this at any time. I would meet this woman, and she opened lots of places in the gym, and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, I don't remember where I was." Well, anyway, I started talking to her, and I discovered that she was schizophrenic and really had been kicked out of the house by the husband, and she lived in her car. So for 5 years she did that, and I fed her, I worked with the police, I took her to the psychiatrist, and I tried to get her to take medicine. Finally, Montgomery County was wonderful and took her over, and she was there for probably 7 or 8 years, and she was persuaded to take medicine. Now she is working part-time at Harvard, which is like a miracle. Her sister and her husband still call me on a regular basis, and she calls me at least once a week, if not more. I won't take your time. Well, she does. But I kind of adopted this son who was born, and I became the surrogated mother. And I was going to his track meets. I went to his graduation. Now that he's in college, I help him to get money to go to Emory. And I sent him cookies like a mother would do, and trying to persuade him to really get along again with his mother. I think it's 4 times now that I have taken him to see her, but it's a disaster every time. So, but to me, I mean, he's very. I found him a job this past summer. I'm working on trying to find a job for him because he's graduating, and Dean and I are going to his graduation in Emory in May. Another quick example of the kinds of things that take my time is that I have a college friend who has no relatives whatsoever. So I am her health agent, and I really keep tab of her every 2 or 3 days because her health is not very good at all. So now I'm coming to the summary. I hope you're all looking for that. I want to talk a little bit about my interpretation of life. When Mandela passed away, some of his writing was mentioned, and one of the things that caught my attention was that he said he was the captain of his soul. And actually, throughout my life, I've always said I'm captain of my boat. I'm on a big sea, and the sea can be very calm, and the sea can have lots of storms. And I think we are all tested how we go through difficulties. So my challenge is really to face this with equanimity and courage, and to navigate the boat so that it will stand up, and during the storm or during the nice times. But I have faith, and that's probably what my faith is, that I will succeed. I'm fortunate also to see very often the positive side of things and forget about bad things. My sibling always asks, don't you remember? I say, no, it's bad, I don't know about it. Because I look in the goodness of humans and in each person, actually. And no matter where their color, their sex, their stand in life, I feel that they are part of God in them. And so I want to look for it. And that's my personality, and I'm satisfied with it. On a daily basis, I would say I'm inspired by the birds that I feed every morning, especially in the storm and in the snow. My orchids, I have a lovely group of orchids that I admire every Sunday. My houseplant, my arts, and especially, I think, things like music that both of us enjoy a lot. Now, stewardship, the sixth part of the Quaker testimony, is something that I care about, but I haven't done as much about it. And you know, stewardship means taking care of the planet. So I do try, I do use my bags, etc. But I recognize also that keeping people in the light is important. As many of you know, I had an operation 3 years ago, and according to my surgeon, I came out with flying color, and I'm sure that it's from the support of all my communities. So besides doing service, which is really my driving force, I had another passion, and that is to keep fit and to eat well. I'm a vegetarian, and I feel that it helps me with my quality of life. I'm in the Y 7 days a week, except today. And I like to also help people who are dependent on me. I serve on the board of the Y, and I'm kind of the conduit between the members and the board, because otherwise things would not get done. For example, I beg them to plant new trees because some of the trees had died. Well, I got my 6 trees, and I begged them to put a stop sign. So I've gleaned a lot of things from other religions, but Quakerism really speaks to my condition, and I really mean truly about that. The 6 testimonies, which I won't repeat again, they are still right for me. So that's my spiritual journey. Did I grow over the years? Again, it depends how you define spiritual growth. I accept what I am and what I have accomplished. And I would like to believe in the existence of another world like my father did, and I'm there, but I'm not quite there. So during that journey, I learned a lot, and I continue to be a seeker. And I woke up one morning and said, I'm at peace with myself, and it's really true. So I've finished this little address on time, I hope, with Elise Balding's words when she says that the Quaker way is the discovery of a lifelong journey and must be made by each individual without accepting a ready-made creed. So that's it is, and I hope that that's what you were interested in my doing. Thank you. Thank you. So did the sound come out okay with all this? We don't know.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's just fine.
I had a question,
Good.
and that is, I didn't understand about the Belgian Congo. Was it that when you returned to Belgium, a lot of people were going to the Belgian Congo, and you did, and why was that? What?
Because
There were so many
Belgium is
refugees?
a very small country.
Mhm.
There are 9 million people. And so the future of the youth was in the Belgian Congo, not in Belgium. So many of my friends from high school went. My parents did not like them. The interesting thing is my brother became Peace Corps. He was a Peace Corps worker, and then worked his whole life in Africa. And I became an African specialist, and so I traveled to 20 countries and lectured all over.
So one way or another, you got there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a question.
I have 2 questions, Franz. The
Yeah.
first is, did you go to Lower Merion High School?
Yes, I did. A year and a half,
Okay.
and I was very miserable.
Oh, were you?
But did you go there too?
I lived in Narberth, my mother went there, I would have gone, but we moved.
Well, I was miserable because I did not know English at all.
Oh.
And so they put me in the best English class, in the biology class. After 3 months, I loved biology. I raised my hands and I thought, I'm sure I didn't do it correct. And the teacher didn't know that I didn't know English because I studied very hard. And so multiple choice.
Second, I was taken by what you said about your work with Japan. Did you run into either Esther Rhodes or Elizabeth Gray Vining?
No, they were gone by the time. My involvement with Japan is the last 25 years.
Thank you.
Picking up on that, the question I had, I think maybe you just answered, but I think you had said that when you moved to the Philadelphia area, you weren't accepted. And did I hear that right? And was that because of the language issue? Because it sounded like your family went because of the Quaker presence, but then it was shocking to hear that you felt rejected, and I was wondering about that and
Well,
what affected you.
especially in high school.
Mhm.
I was very isolated. My cousin was there too. And the two of us with a German girl, believe it or not, my aunt practically fainted when we brought her home because her prejudice against Germany was just extreme, if you didn't understand why. So the three of us were the only international students. And so nobody knew what to do. We never had any friends. We never went to any of the activities.
Even in the meeting, because you were.
Oh, no, with the meeting, but in the high school.
In the high school.
In the meeting, we had a very good group of young friends, and the Quakerism really helped us. Yeah.
Before we go to another question, I just want to make an observation, which is that it's fascinating to me how often people who aren't born speaking English surpass those of us who are born speaking English. Your ability to capture your story and tell your story so skillfully in a language that you learned at the age of 16 is astonishing to me. It's quite wonderful.
Well, thank you, but I have a fantastic editor over there.
I understand.
And Paul has helped also with it. Probably, I don't know, some of you who have read the book, Paul insisted I bring a copy. But Paul has done all the publishing, and so he's doing that now for 3 or 4 of our friends. So that's been very helpful. And all of you, my mother.
There were 2 things I was interested in. One was a sort of a recurrent theme of your biography as being the outsider going to a strange place, going to France, going to a rural area, going back to another strange place in Belgium, going to the United States is a strange place. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what sort of spiritual values helps you navigate those changes, because most of us hate change and find it very fearful and